Should we go ahead and call the meeting to order?
Great idea. I'm always
Stay
a
on
big
time.
favor of starting meetings on time.
Yeah. I think I have to move to do it, right?
Yeah, no, you're good.
Okay.
We'll do the roll call. We'll note that we have committee member Frederick here, committee member Lowe,
Here,
and Chair Farrell.
Here.
We also note that we have Council Liaison Bill Widmer.
Yep.
Council Liaison Stacy Holland noted that she wouldn't be able to make it today, and she provided a notice for that. And just as a note, Sunit submitted her formal letter of resignation this week, which was effective immediately. Thanked her for her service, her commitment, but frankly, her work schedule just couldn't continue to meet the demands of this committee. So we're actively recruiting as we were before. If you guys know of other people, please pass them forward and share them with us. And I will let Christabel take over.
So the guys from Menlo Park or Menlo College said they're gonna have somebody here. Is that not true? No, I didn't see the application. They said a guy, Mark,
Mark.
a guy named Mark was gonna show up for this meeting, but I guess as I got a note back from Ian and Paul saying they couldn't come, but they were sending him because he'll take over the chairmanship of the committee.
Maybe next
Ray
time I
does.
could pick him up on my way.
Yeah,
Okay.
the rain, I don't expect him to show up.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a good sidewalk or a good bikeway on El Camino to get here. You get them soon.
But isn't that going to be discussed at the next?
Yeah.
Talking about El Camino, there's, after the study session on the 5th, there's meeting to.
Yep.
But it's only by Zoom.
Plus, there's a survey out there. You should out the survey.
But isn't the meeting on the 5th only by Zoom? Or is it in person too?
They're having both.
The meeting
Both?
on the 5th.
Yeah, it's
You
both?
can go by Zoom or you can go in person.
Oh, it is in person too. Okay,
It's
good. thanks.
here. It's here after the study session. Just got announced.
Moving on to the agenda. We have the first item on the agenda is to approve the committee meetings for the November 21st meeting. Did anyone have any questions, comments, concerns on the minutes?
I don't think so. I went ahead and read through. I don't know, Gregory, did you have any questions from meeting notes from last time in November?
no,
Okay, I move to approve the meeting notes from our last November 2024 meeting.
Second. Do I approve?
Moving on to agenda item number 2, we wanted to take this opportunity to introduce the new city council liaisons. Here we have Councilmember Bill Widmer, which he already kind of engaged in conversation.
Can you give us
but
his background so we know who he is?
Yeah, I mean, Sir Widmer, could you give us a little bit of background?
Okay, so
Sure.
we don't have that much time.
I'm happy to give you
I mean,
some
maybe,
feedback.
I'm not sure.
I've been
if-
on the EPC before. I've been on the council for
There you go.
15 years. There we go.
What have you
And-
done for us lately?
What have I done for you lately? I hope I've got the housing element pretty much done. And I've recruited some people for the finance committee coming up. And I listen to all people, especially yourself, Ken, come in and talk to me. I have office hours on Tuesday from 12:30 to 1:30, and it's come one, come all. And there you go.
Quick question, considering your experience with the EPC in the past and your dedication and commitment as a public servant to the town, do you have anything you really want to get out of this role or expectations for this role with the EPC?
Well, I think the first thing I need to do is to, listen to what you guys have been working on and although I read the minutes and I read the whole pack as I always do. I mean, I've got my own ideas on what things could happen. I've got some ideas here on the REACH code discussion that you want to get into, but it's really a citizen committee that makes recommendations to the council. And so my role here, as Stacy's is too, is just to make sure that the committee doesn't go off the rails or does something that the council hadn't said we should do, or it's not in your charter or something like that. But no, I think that I think you made the right move to decide to work with staff on Earth Day. I'm looking forward to the discussion as we move forward onto Earth Day. There's a lot of interest in it. I hear from people about that. We have the trash pickup day coming up also, which is 2 weeks before our Earth Day stuff. I know Ken has some comments and some ideas on that. But, you know, my role isn't to drive the meeting. It's, you know, we've changed what the council does. When I was first on the EPC, as well as other committees, you know, normally they said, oh, you council members, you know how to do this stuff, so you just be the chair. But, you know, these meetings are citizen driven, and so it's up to you to really just make sure. My role is to make sure you don't go off the rails or maybe phrase something different, say this is, maybe we should phrase it this way or go this way. But I think the EPC has done a great job on the Earth Days. The past Earth Days have been great. I've had a lot of fun at them, and so has everybody else. I didn't like the one at Menlo Atherton, but the ones that y'all have put together are there. I know that they took a lot of time and had a previous liaison spend an enormous amount of time on coordinating. You know, I will help you however I can when you're setting up and things like that. But I think you made the right decision by passing it back to staff and just saying what we want to do. I do have a resident that lives down the street from me. His name is Rhett Butler. No puns, but that really is his name. I don't know if any of you went to his session that he held at the park, but
I don't think so, but I've seen him on LinkedIn.
yeah, so he's got a presentation. I can touch base with him if you're interested, maybe for the Earth Day, but he goes around and does like, you know, preservation stuff out in the jungles and things like that. He's got a bunch of slides and movies and stuff like that. He's been all around the world. And I think that would be something
When you
that,
say preservation, you mean saving the animal
well, saving the total environment.
and the animals.
Yeah, yeah.
I think he has a nonprofit organization, as far
He
as
does.
I can tell,
He
as
does.
well as
Involved with
a
culture.
newsletter, magazine, and
Right.
yeah, it's very much focused on conservation. And I
Mhm.
think he's very well regarded. And since this year's theme is really focused on conservation, and we've got Tusk, I think it'd be fantastic to bring him in.
Yeah, okay. All right. So I'll put you in touch with him. And you can mention my name because he lives 2 doors down from me. And when I talked to him before, about 6 months ago, said, hey, maybe you could involve yourself in some of the stuff in the town. He sounded interesting, but he never followed through. So,
That's great. I think the more town voices we can get, the better.
and if you're talking about having presentations or something at Earth Day, and, you know, and Cristobal can arrange that, I think that would be something people would be interested in.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. I made a note for that, for us to follow up maybe.
Okay, all right. So other than that, just I'm happy to be here, happy to get involved. And you know, I know that Diana enjoyed her time here, and she expressed to me yesterday she was disappointed she's still not on the committee. Well, I told her I'd do my best to fill in for her.
Well, thank you. And we appreciate all the history you have with the committee as well. And also being so close to different initiatives. I think that really helps us see the bigger picture. Great. All right, next agenda item.
Yeah, moving on to, the already started Earth Day conversation. I was hoping to just give you a quick update on what I'm going to be updating the council on. So this will also be going out with the council report that goes out the Friday before a council meeting. And then through this, we can talk about, well, it'll lead into the conversation about Earth Day's main activity and then what the EPC wants to do with that. So far, just as an update, Earth Day planning is on track. We've made substantial progress over the past few months, reaching out to vendors early on in the fall. and engaging the schools as well in the fall. We introduced them all to our theme and integrated and showed them how they can have vendor contributions, student involvement, and any participation or contribution that they would have to the event. This year, we said that vendors would not be able to sell products.
Water's
And
supposed
so
to go
instead, we're
down.
encouraging that they, I'll let Councilmember Whitmer finish.
I wanted to
Maybe-
mention
oh.
one thing. I just found out yesterday that Kelly is moving from Menlo College with Sodexo to another role. So I don't know if we're still going to be working with
So she's
Sodexo.
leaving Sodexo or she's leaving?
No, just
Not
Menlo
just
College.
like
College.
when-
Yeah, I think she has
when we get home,
a
which will be about-
promotion.
Yeah, yeah.
We actually don't.
Okay. Direct to Food Fleet. Okay, she just
Have
mentioned that
mom.
when I was
So
on
it's-
campus
okay.
yesterday.
Contact them and say that,
I mean, plus they were going to give up.
all right, great.
I guess she'll have a replacement. We could always ask. Okay. Yeah, okay.
So due to the, as I was saying, due to the desire to have or preserve Earth Day as a community event, the council wanted to focus on this being tailored towards community engagement, education, and awareness. So for that, we told vendors and we followed up with the vendors that we already reached out to, saying that sales will not be permitted during the event. However, they're encouraged to offer pre-orders for products, which could be picked up, delivered, or mailed outside of the event, if that's what their specific business entails.
I don't know what a pre-order means. And they have a price sheet with them and
Yeah, some smaller businesses will have a system where you can fill out a form and pre-order an item and then coordinate how the item would be.
so they can't pick up the item at Earth Day.
It could be different for different folks, but yeah, you wouldn't be able to purchase and walk away with an item at Earth Day.
Could you purchase before and have it delivered at Earth Day?
No.
Price of the sale is made elsewhere.
Well, vendors would be at the event, doing it at the event. So there would be nothing before the event. And it's just
Yeah,
coordinating whether
yeah.
you pick up or
Yeah,
they
we're
drop
not,
off.
we can't be a point of sale at the park.
So I got a guy who might bring us a turtle,
Okay,
purposes of the tusk thing. He has a 4-foot land-based terrapin. He thought he could bring us for the day. So in front of our little booth, we have a 4-foot turtle, terrapin, in grass. It's a turtle on land that doesn't go to water. Right? And so a couple thoughts on that was he runs something called Reptiles West or something. So he sells every reptile known to the world. And if I wanted to order a reptile, deliver it to me at Earth Day, I could take it, I guess.
Is that safe for the rep?
That's like a point of sale.
the answer is
Okay,
no.
as Cristobal said, if you want to pre-order something by saying, hey, I want to buy this, and he says, fine, come by the shop on Monday or Tuesday, and the transaction happens there, then that's fine. But
So then you will like the other idea, but I don't think, the idea was instead of the leaf blower race, where the town council tries to beat the other guy with the leaf blower race,
We have you race the turtle.
we have the town council race the turtle.
It's not a
Wait,
bad
And-
idea.
and
With
I'm-
lettuce as
But back
the,
to your point,
And I am betting on the turtle.
oh,
back to your point, we're discouraging all vendors from doing any point of sale transactions at the event. If they want to do pre-sales, they're welcome to do that the same way that they
Pre-sale
would if
means
they
they
were
have a-
walking down the
You
street.
can buy
if
it
they
there, but
wanna-
not, you can get something to order it from later.
If
That's
you
a
want to
pre-sale.
give out a business card that's got your website and your Shopify store, we're not telling you
Yeah.
not to do that. We're not trying
I
to
just,
facilitate
I don't understand the
transactions at the
concept,
park.
the word pre-sales. That's
yeah, I think the ones that I remember the most that were selling
The
things,
honey
the
and the
honey.
hats and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that was the Guild, right? San
Yeah.
Mateo Bee Guild.
Yeah.
And then also we had, aside from packets, we had two plastic-free stores. I think one was a refill store from San Jose, and they had a huge display that I know was controversial. And then there was one from San Mateo that's since closed, and they just have online now. That was Bird's Filling Station. But those were the ones I remember that were selling.
I don't think. it's a
This is
problem.
just one of those takeaways from our kind of after action review. As the event continues to grow and improves, we're looking to take in the feedback that we got from the council and the city manager's office and one of those pieces of feedback was, we're not going to turn the blind eye.
makes
and we're
sense.
gonna- Yeah.
What about, how are we handling food, or is that later in the?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I'll go ahead and finish and then we can pivot towards the main activity. But so for the vendors, that was the outreach that we did and are continuing to do. We're letting them know that we're not allowing sales, but they can go that alternate route if they choose. Because of that, I am anticipating that we're going to have a reduction of vendor participation related to the theme, especially if we're not allowing sales. So with that, we are including also a portion of the event to be filled with quote unquote vendors who are community resources like Cal Water, ADAPT, Friends of the Library, any other community resources, especially related to it. For example, we reached out to a nonprofit called Canopy to provide education, resources, information, and activities. So we're hoping to fill that gap of vendors with community resources, and then also hoping to have a huge student contribution. So with that, we've also reached out to the schools. I said in December, we did the in-person outreach where we went into the admission offices, spoke with teachers, passed out Earth Day volunteer flyers, and just started getting the word out about Earth Day and student engagement around Earth Day. And then in January, we followed up to those emails, visits with emails, inviting them to Earth Day. And then this month, I followed up to that original email with ways that students can get involved. And so some of the schools are already brainstorming ways that they're going to get involved, but we gave them some ideas on educational displays or art projects, performance or presentation, volunteering at the event as a student, as a class with your parent, or engaging just in hands-on activities and encouraging participation. So we're hoping to lock all of that in by mid-March. That would be the vendors, community resources, and student engagement at the event. Once we have that, we'll have a better idea of the list of folks that are going to be attending and contributing to the tabling of the event.
And just to interrupt on the student engagement, so not directly coming from schools, but I believe you've also touched base with the Boys Scout troops, Girl Scouts, and 4-H.
We haven't had any follow-up.
No, okay.
Yeah.
So there has been some outreach, as Anthony has mentioned, with Daisy Troops, a local Girl Scouts group, reaching out to the Boy Scouts. The Atherton Arts Foundation was also working on doing, working with the Cub Scouts to do maybe an environmental patch. All of that, it's still an ongoing conversation, so nothing has really been finalized there. But conversations have been started, but not a lot of conversation has been had with those groups. And I don't know if
Maybe
this
I
is a
can reach
busy
out to
time of year.
Sunit was somehow involved with one of them. I
Yeah.
think her son had been involved, so I can check.
Okay. Yeah, I know that, I mean, I see the Girl Scouts out selling cookies right now, so I can only imagine that it's Girl Scout cookie season. And I don't know what else they have going on for the different age groups, but I'm just imagining it's a busy time. But we have had those conversations and are hoping to follow up with them.
Well, Anthony, did you reach out to 206?
I did,
And did they respond or no?
did not.
Because they normally do. Did you offer that maybe an Eagle Scout project could be stuff with us?
I think the generic email was like, hey, we'd like to connect with you to talk about Earth Day opportunities and protect a project. I was
Okay.
hoping to get the conversation started, but I haven't heard back from them.
Okay.
So if you do have any contacts or connections, please feel free to leverage them and connect us with them. I'm always encouraging people to just introduce me to someone via email. I welcome those. But yeah, so the efforts continue just to secure those participants through mid-March with a goal of having the same amount of 40 to 45 vendors or people tabling at the event, whether that's vendors on biodiversity, community resources, and student-led tables. With that, we're also having conversations with the Atherton Library on programming to complement the event and Earth Month activities. That is all still ongoing, so hopefully a better update can come at the next meeting. In terms of activities and entertainment, we've secured last year's DJ and photographer, so we're hoping to have a lot of that liveliness still there. The Beetle Lady has been confirmed, very on theme, and we've also secured West Coast Falconry to have 2 falcons, 2 hawks, and 2 owls for education purposes and photo opportunities. And people will be able to engage physically with the animals. So it's an interactive activity. And for the EPC, I think if we don't have a main activity by, let's say, the next March meeting, we could really leverage the West Coast Falconry experience because they're going to take over the entire big lawn by the Little League. And there can't be any other animals or birds or dogs near them. So it's going to be a very isolated area that we could really sell. Like we could put up infographics and put other activity tables leading up to while people are waiting to, pet the hawk or the owl. We could really build that up as a main activity if we wanted to.
What's the library doing?
We're not sure what they're hoping to contribute to the event yet.
But you've contacted them.
Oh, yeah, they've been actual.
They normally roll out books in the area and.
Yeah.
Well, they have
Historically,
books,
they've,
but maybe they should look at children's books that are environmental.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
historically, they've always
They've
So
provided
you
a
might want
series
to
of
touch
books.
base with Lynn Fetter. She's the youth librarian who I work with when I do my readings.
In past years, they have had books on the environmental theme, and I guess I would just add that if they had some on birds, on owls,
Plant species.
Yeah, because they're
animal
all
species.
new. The head librarian and the youth librarian are brand new. They weren't here last year.
Yeah, we've had a lot of the introduction conversations with them and just collaboration between the town and the library. As Anthony mentioned, I think they're already aware of Earth Day as a annual event and their contribution to it. But what that is exactly, we haven't locked in. And hopefully we'll know.
I would occasionally they're a little loose, say, over there. So unless it's their project, right? So now it's our project.
Yeah,
So I would follow up with them in writing,
okay.
get them to respond in writing so you know exactly what they're doing as opposed to have a conversation.
And Bill, I think you also got to ask them, you have to ask them to do stuff, not just let them decide.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fine. I
you
don't
don't
have a
direct
problem with
them.
that. I'm just saying, get it all in
Oh, I
writing.
agree.
No,
the
for
other,
sure.
the
It's-
other point is to get in writing that they will put up the flyer. So I remember we had a
Yeah.
little difficulty with that because it's in great advertising. So just what bulletin board at what time, as soon as possible.
Oh yeah, the bulletin board, I haven't had any troubles with.
Okay.
I typically just walk over with a bunch of flyers and tell them I'm from the city manager's office and they just take them and put
Great.
them up. So our Earth Day flyer, Earth Day volunteer flyer should already be up there. And it's already actually physically distributed at hopefully all of our local schools if people actually put them up.
That's great.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that when we did the December visits, we physically dropped off the volunteer flyers to be distributed around campus. So we expected a little bit of a slowdown because of the winter break. But now that students have been back maybe for almost a month, we're hoping that that will drive up the numbers of volunteers. And then, of course, continuous social media and public communication, advertising of volunteer recruitment, and then as we approach the event registration.
In terms of social media, and by the way, I like the post on green waste and the efforts that they've done at the schools. It might be fun to have, as part of the social media outreach, a conversation with someone who's going to be participating and why they're excited. So you could do that way, they'll like the post and maybe repost it. So it could be with Fiona or someone from the Atherton Youth Advisory, like I'm excited this year because of the turtle focus or the owl focus. And that way we're getting those people highlighted and they can influence, more posts and likes.
I like
So
that.
you could make a little list.
Or like a sneak peek of what to look forward to in the
Yeah,
event. I like that.
Do people actually understand what's behind the turtle?
Oh, I don't, except for Ken wants us to race him. I think I could beat him.
You could beat Ken, you may not be able to beat the turtle. So here's the story. There's a group out of London called the Tusk.org. And they raise money every year to save endangered species in Africa. And every year, the way they do it is they have a designated species that they are highlighting. They turn that species into large 5-6 foot sculptures. They have a replica of 6 exact same this year turtles. They will have here in the area. They will then have them painted by different artists. They will put the turtles around the area to continue to raise awareness. Then on the 20th of September, they will have a gala dinner at the
Circus
Club, where they will auction off these pieces of art, and they will also raise money again to save the animals in Africa. The only request they have is that they do not have turtle soup on the menu for that night, which is a delicacy at the Circus Club, it turns out. So anyway, so the idea is if Tusk has that as their animal of choice this year, and they're gonna have these replicas around the town, they came to us at the last meeting or the meeting before, said, could we endorse it as a town? They wanted us to host 1 or 2 or more, maybe 6, whatever, of these turtles. They want us to put them on our site somewhere. So if we did that, let's say we had 1, 2, that is on our site September timeframe. To build interest in it, we would start a turtle mania at Earth Day. So you'd start thinking about the poor turtles that are dying in nets and things coming to the final thing in September. So that's why we would pick, EPC was thinking, we'd pick turtle as our focus for our booth.
So you would have at least one sample there,
1 turtle.
one turtle.
We would probably, if we
Tortoise,
could,
tortoise.
get a terrarium, I think they're called. The turtles in them. We'd have one of those at our table, and then we have, if we could, we think we can do it, a large 4-foot tortoise there on the ground in front of us.
Oh, they'd have to decide what they're bringing, but and I don't have a problem if you're saying they'd like to have a turtle on our banner, but I think if somebody's bringing a bunch of falcons or a falconer is bringing a bunch of different birds of prey, we should probably have them on there too.
Well,
Yeah, so can I just tie this back in? Our theme this year is protect our species. So I think the concept that Ken has and the other one with the birds and the falcon is that we're trying to showcase animals that provide sustainability benefits, like the falcons and dealing with rodents, projects that may exist with rescuing animals in the wild. And so this is just a variety of different opportunities to showcase these activities, events that relate to this topic, right?
Yeah.
If there are suggestions like what you're suggesting with the turtle, I think the best opportunity is share that with staff, get us the contact information, and then we can run down the logistics and see what the best approach is. Because one of the things I think we'll have to do, especially as we may engage multiple live animals, is then interact with these different vendors. Like, hey, we're going to have turtles over here. What do you think? Hey, we're going to have we just.
But they need to be
we're-
covered.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so we'll run that down again to keep that veil between the policymaking group and the logistical folks. So
We'll talk about that because there's the other side is the Tusk side of the turtle.
and again, to my knowledge, we haven't confirmed if Tusk intends to
No, we're not.
participate.
No, we're not. And that's one of the other points that tied to Earth Day, but is a separate topic is, are we willing as a town to host a sculptured turtle for a
What?
period of time
Related to Earth Day or independent of Earth Day?
related to the September event?
Well, I think it's great
September?
awareness. There's September, they're doing a
that's- oh.
fundraiser.
Yeah.
And I think it's great awareness around conservation.
They may, I don't know if they'll have it by April. That's the problem.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I think it's possible.
Hmm.
I don't know what it would require for us to do. So in other situations, just talking from the council and my experience with the council, we've had other donated sculptures that were lent to the town temporarily. Typically, it comes to the council to see if it's something the council wants to do,
Yeah.
where they're going to place it, what liability that costs. Like if it's a sculpture that's like $10 million, we may say, hey, we can't.
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Um,
From an EPC point of view, the two things that I think are, tell me where I'm wrong, for Earth Day itself, probably want to have a terrarium with turtles sitting on our
What is, that term is,
It's an aquarium for
oh,
turtles.
okay.
But where are you planning on putting this?
On our table.
Oh, on your
EPC
table?
table.
Oh, so
you're
this
gonna
is a
have it
small
for-
display.
You're gonna have
Yeah,
it
yeah.
for a day
It's like
and
an
he's
aquarium.
gonna be
Okay.
there.
Well,
He's gonna be there
again,
taking care of
logistically,
it.
before we said, let's do it, let's get us the contact information. Let us run down what it actually would
So at
require.
Earth Day,
Do we have to pay for it?
No,
Do
no,
we
no,
have
no,
to
no, no,
have
no,
it
no,
shipped? You know,
at Earth Day, we would have the aquarium with the terrarium with, small turtles, not big, we're not talking, they're 3-inch turtles or something, if they had it. And the other would be potentially a live 4-foot turtle sitting in front of the booth. That's all we'd have at Earth Day. And if we had the statue, which I don't think we have, I don't think we'll have by then, they had a painted statue, which was gonna be sculpture, which was gonna be part of the September thing. If they had it by April, which I don't think they will, then we'd probably want to sit it on the library deck, just leave it there for a while.
And coming,
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
but coming back to general education and awareness, I think if we are open to having members of our town have tables to showcase their conservation activities, like Rhett Butler
Oh, okay.
and
that's
like
really
this
interesting.
other individual, they could be a quote unquote vendor. Right?
Yeah.
And so they can't necessarily solicit donations, but they could talk about what they're doing.
if somebody has a flyer and it says, this is what I do and this is how I do it and we raise money, I don't see the conflict there. The Police Athletic League has a table at
Yeah.
Earth Day. I don't think that they've ever said, scan this QR code to send me a Venmo right now. I say that in jest, but it's not a surprise that people who operate not-for-profit agencies are open to donations. So to
Yeah.
your point, I think it's all above board. Take this contact information from Councilmember Whitmer. We take the contact information from Community Member Frederick, and we'd reach out independent and see what it would take to get them there.
Yeah, and just say, maybe give them a little context of how many tables we've had in the past and how
Certainly.
many people come, and it's a great way for them to raise awareness.
Totally.
And I believe Rhett Butler was in the Athertonian magazine less than a year ago. So, we could reference that article. We might want to get copies and have it. And actually,
I just
the
sent him a
individual
note.
from Tusk was also on the cover with his wife.
Yeah, he did, Joe.
Yeah, I just sent him a note and said,
Great.
and you and Cristobal are on distribution, and said if you want to get involved in stuff like that, to talk to you all.
Great.
So let me make sure I understand the Earth Day thing. So first of all, from an EPC, the only thing we're really doing is we're gonna be there with a booth, right? We're gonna be there with a booth, whoever members can make it. We'll have whatever we want to show. It's, my personal view, we're not there yet, is turtles and probably worms. And we might even turtles,
Oh, no.
some of the worms. Sorry.
Well, I think, yeah, if we have our educational materials there, and I think it would be great, have our flyers, we get people in, maybe to join because we are low on members. So I think that makes sense. I guess for coming back to the theme mentioned, I guess with all of the marketing materials, if you could have the theme front ready at the top. And then the Earth Day, in the past, we've had different slogans. Love our Earth, we've had different slogans. So whatever, protect our species. But then if you had some turtles, I think last year we did a lot with Ken's sheep. It's very catchy and people really enjoy that. So just
All the things
integrate
the
that into your
50% I
marketing.
did.
Yeah.
I can show you our draft flyer
Yeah.
towards the end of our conversation, but we're already starting to talk about the EPC table and the main activity. So let me quickly just finish this update, and then that way you'll have a more well-rounded view of what we have so far planned and what might be missing. So I left off at the West Coast Falconry. We talked about that maybe being that main activity, that special sauce that the event needs.
Good, yeah.
We also have talked with the Atherton Arts Foundation, and they're going to be hosting a tote making activity. So that'll be a hands-on activities for people
What?
of all
A boat
ages.
Making
Tote bags.
Tote-
yeah.
tote bag.
Tote bag making, yeah, with block print, almost like screen print on a tote bag. So it'll be a hands-on activity for folks of all ages to participate in, put on by the Atherton Arts Foundation. So that's something that's going to be an activity there. We also have the Atherton Arts
So they're
Foundation.
doing that at their expense, right?
Yes,
They're not going to sell the bags because we already
No.
covered all this.
correct. They'd be sponsoring the bags, essentially. They're sponsoring the activity.
Good.
Also with that, the Atherton Arts Foundation has coordinated for a wildlife photographist named Joanne Sparks, who is actually going to be scheduled for her art to be showcased at Town Hall, similar to other artists, leading up to Earth Day between March and May. She's going to be doing a special event speaker series with the library and the Friends of the Library, leading up to that Earth Day activity, probably Earth Month. Joanne will also be showcased at the Earth Day event in Jennings Pavilion. Similar to last year, there was like a art gallery walkthrough. Joanne will have something similar with her art. There has been conversations about potentially the Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts, whatever project they might be able to contribute if it's artistic, maybe sharing the floor where we can showcase the photography and then on the other end showcase the younger students' artwork if we can finalize that. Also in Jennings Pavilions, we're hoping to use it as a cooling center. I don't know if you remember in previous years, I think it's been pretty warm during Earth Day. So we're hoping to use it as a space for folks to cool down, sit, relax. So we're also going to be doing a film viewing or screening of either a series of short videos or an episode of the Netflix series called Our Planet, where it talks about biodiversity. So we'll either be playing one 50-minute episode, just playing in a loop for folks to come in and out as they feel, or a series of shorter videos related to the theme.
If I could interrupt there, we looked 2 years ago at Conservation International has a free series of very short videos that the voiceover actors, Julia Roberts, for example, I Am the Forest, and they're very good and they're super short. So the biggest problem we had with a movie is that it's hard to get people to sit down and focus. So shorts are great. And then the library, of course, has access to all the free movies through their subscription to, it's not Canvas, but it's a name like that, Cameo. They have a subscription to a bunch of free movies.
Okay, I'll look into that. Thank you. So you think shorter would be better for like a film screening type thing?
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
When
Yeah,
we
I mean, the idea is
when
that
we did
people-
films years ago, when I was first on the C, we had them over at the Performing Arts Center. And they were good, but that's all we did that day is just sit there and watch movies on nuclear energy and things like that. And they were very interesting, but then the Earth Day was separate. So they were kind of an extension of Earth Day, but Earth Day was the next day really in the park.
Did people enjoy that? Or is it well
People
attended?
who were interested in nuclear energy were, it was just something different. So I'm not suggesting that we do it. But those were longer movies. I guess they were half-hour, 45-minute movies.
Yeah,
And-
my
Cost
concern with
associated with the
longer.
pack.
And I think if you do something shorter, it would keep the attendant, because remember, we're really gearing it towards Atherton residents. And, people say, well, it's great, but I don't want to spend the whole day there, by the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Like
I
the
mean, some
idea.
people will, but most will bring their kids and, if there's a movie, they can go inside, it's different. And
Yeah.
then they'll go out and look at the tables and then they'll get in their car and open up a parking place for somebody else.
Yeah,
What are you doing about parking? City?
getting there.
Okay,
we'll finish-
well, here, my 2 cents is you're going to use up all those parking places. And by the way, April is baseball season. Okay, so there are going to be kids playing baseball on that field.
We've always discussed that in the past,
Is there a
and we've
game out there?
always dealt with that by going to people in advance and making sure that there's no games and their tennis people are alerted. We did that the last 2 years.
Okay,
So
so you better
we've
find
thought
out.
about parking, and what worked really well in previous years is that the vendors are instructed to drop their things off and park over here
Okay,
and
yeah.
walk back, or have someone from their side drive and drop them off and park over here and walk back. So I think we've thought a lot about parking, and it's written up in the notes from the last 2
Is there a
years.
baseball game that day? I doubt that early in April, but who knows?
I know that the previous years, we let everyone who uses the park know, because the year that Stacy and Diana did it, there was parking problems because of baseball?
Well, there's not that many parking places there. So somebody has to get with baseball and they may tell you, forget it. Because
And tennis, yeah.
that's getting ready for their playoffs. But if you can make sure that they're not there on that day, that's great. If not, you're going to have alternate parking over here and we'll need to have some sort of shuttle or something.
What
Uh,
about this thing that we did with bicycles and ice cream?
So we're going to continue the bike rack. We're looking to secure the Boy Scouts or the police department's RVAP people to serve as kind of a bike valet. This year, it's not a valet. It's a self-serve. You come, we're going to rent
Racks.
Fencing.
racks,
Mhm.
right? And you lock your own bike up, and that's what it is. Or the volunteers will help you and show you how to do it, but we're not planning on giving you a card and somebody walks you back your bike or anything like that.
Yeah, Tesla, by the way, had excellent volunteers. for
Tesla
that.
did, so we have that list of people to reach out to as well. As far as parking is concerned, we will be coordinating with the baseball folks to see if they can schedule something different. We do have a message that'll go to Player Capital Tennis to have them provide that note to their people like every year. And we do intend to, in our outreach material, encourage people to walk and bike. It's a small park. It's got limited parking opportunities. We'll have signage again for overflow parking over here, but the library is still in service that day. And so people will be moving and coming, as they normally do.
So is this on Saturday or
On
Sunday?
Sunday.
Okay, well, there'll be no baseball.
Yeah, so.
But yeah, Sunday, there's no baseball.
And
They
one of the
play
reasons that was
Saturday.
chosen because, that's an opportunity. But the parking issue. There's limited parking at the park.
Yeah.
We don't have underground parking. We don't have any other facilities. We can only provide outreach and education to people to encourage them to either come early and not stay the whole time, carpool, walk, bike, ped. And those are our limitations. I don't think it would be in our best interest to use our $10,000 budget to pay for a shuttle, which we've looked into in the past. We're talking a few $1,000s that even if it runs all day, it's going to bring 3 to 6 people back and
Okay,
forth, 3
fine,
to
no
6 people
problem.
back and
No
forth.
problem.
You
Just-
might get the guy from Wild Carts to, for free, provide some carts that you could drive and shuttle people around. Free
We're
advertising for
talking
him?
like golf carts on the roads.
These are the road authorized golf carts.
This liability.
I'm not saying it's not worth considering, but I have Earth Day aside, Watkins is a busy, what do they call it? What's the street in
Like a
neighborhood
cut-through.
traffic study, like a cut through street and our
The Watkins Dinkelspiel intersection, as I've said several times at the meeting, is a dangerous intersection.
I don't want to see people in golf carts in town
No,
personally.
I don't either, because you're going to be sitting lower. You won't be able to see what's coming
They
from.
are totally
from the
legal in the
east.
state of
All right,
California,
well,
anywhere under 35 miles an hour.
I mean, if somebody can drive their own golf cart from their house to the
I
park,
think you're being
that's
very
their choice.
short-sighted.
It might
Very
be,
short-sighted.
I might
fun,
be.
might be fun to do the ice cream reward if we had allocate budget for
we
that.
talked about it.
Okay.
I'm thinking the ice cream is going to be the first 100 people.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, here, take your ballet ticket.
How much did we end up spending on Pop Nation last year?
Give me a moment.
Because I know we upped it a couple times. We had a lot of bicycles.
While Christabel finishes, I can take a look at that.
Yeah, thanks. I don't think it's, just for planning purposes.
well, did we have a parking problem last year?
We have a parking problem every year.
I know, but did we have a
But-
bike parking
but
problem last year?
I don't think so,
Remember
because
it being
last year,
bad.
as opposed to the year before, we made sure to ask people to walk, bike, and
Okay, fine.
carpool,
So
we
let's
had the bike
assume it's not going
valet.
to be a problem. Let's assume it's not going to be a problem.
I don't
If it is, then we can always have people direct it and
with
say, go.
vendors, we're asking them to come early and relocate their parking, which we did last year,
Yeah, yeah.
not the year
All
before.
right.
So,
Okay, great. Spend a lot of
or
time.
2
on
years
parking.
before, I should say.
What else? What else have we got?
Bill,
What?
you're not in charge of the committee.
I know.
No,
but
no,
I'd
no,
like-
seriously.
You're a
You're not
guest.
in charge of the committee.
Diana was much quieter.
No. Go back and get George's instructions.
Yeah.
You're not in charge of the committee.
You don't want to get into the
But
details.
you can tell me, I don't work for you, Joe. I don't work for you. I'm telling you.
I know, and
That's
I
the
don't
story.
work for you either.
Yes,
But you do have to
We
follow the
all have
rules.
equal voice
Let's
and
go.
let's just monitor who's talking the most. Please, Christabel, we want to hear from you.
Thank you. I was just gonna finish off with the food and water at Earth Day. So we are securing 3 food trucks similar to last year through, is it Food Fleet? Not
That's right.
Sodexo.
Yeah.
Through Food Fleet. We're still having conversations about securing the types of food trucks, but hoping that it's also gonna be, I think we're gonna go with the vegan option, right?
Yeah, that was the
Especially
plan.
around the
Nick?
theme of
Yeah. So
protecting all species. I think vegan food is probably just the
It's great.
safest choice, especially for, I think a good point you made maybe at the last year's meeting is that this is one day out of the year that people can eat, practice sustainability on theme. with
Or
Earth
try
Day.
new foods. And I think picnic was the most popular.
picnic was great. Here's the challenge with requesting specific vendors, which we talked about with Food Fleet. We're asking them for one, to bring their minimum threshold down a little bit so that we don't incur too much of an expense there. And that may be a challenge with some of the more popular vendors. For example, we said, hey, we really love Picnic Basket and we love the Vegan Hood Chefs. We think they both did great. They said, thank you. We'll reach out to them. But I will tell you now, Vegan Hood Chefs have now upped their minimum from 1,400 to 3,000. So they're not coming back,
Okay.
right? Picnic Basket, it's still out there. And it's, I'm happy to take this insight from the committee. I think both of us are. We thought 3 because it provides variety, but if we only say 2, then maybe we say, hey, 1,400's okay, right? But if we say 3 at 1,400, they're not going to all sell that, and we're going to be on the hook for a lot of money. So,
I'm okay with 2.
I'm okay with 2, and
It's a staff's committee. Staff, yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah.
but
Not ours.
I'm saying if you guys want to give us some input, for example, if we go with Picnic Basket, I would say we've already said we'd prefer a different Mexican food vendor option that provided some more typical Mexican foods, but still vegetarian options. And so if we go with Picnic Basket and the Mexican option, I think that 1,400 number should be doable, knowing that we're not going with the vegan chefs because 3,000 is just totally out of our.
My only input would be to avoid lines as much as possible.
Right, which is why we
So
went with the 3 before.
yeah.
And Christabel was mentioning it, but we already confirmed that Cal Water will have that quote unquote water buffalo water refill station again for us. They've got it locked in and they'll be tabling the event as they usually do. So that was a huge thing last year.
And if any of them are able to bring refillable water bottles, I think they brought some last
They
year.
brought some cups.
Cups, yeah.
Yeah, they brought
Okay.
cups. But that's another outreach thing. We haven't talked about it, but like, hey, we're going to encourage people to bring their own.
A lot
water
of
bottles.
vendors give away refillable.
They do.
Urge them to bring them.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
I mean, almost every vendor gives away a
Right.
refillable.
Yeah.
Why don't you ask the police department to make a contribution?
You got more pull with that.
You can
than I
make
do.
cups with
They
a
only
little
make
dog
coffee
on
cups.
it.
They make coffee cups.
I'm sure they're going to bring the dog.
Yeah, that would be very popular.
Lastly, I just have next steps. So as mentioned, we're hoping to secure all of the vendors, community resources, and student engagement participation by mid-March. In beginning of March, we're going to start preparing the launch materials, marketing materials for the Earth Day event. So that's the Earth Day flyer, the Eventbrite registration, and everything related to that. So you'll start to see Earth Day flyers in March and April leading up to the
When
event.
you say Earth Day flyers, these would be the posters, the normal little posters we have.
Yes.
One standard flyer that people gravitate
Yeah.
that on our bank. Oh, sorry, thank you. Our total events, and we'll have one that we've already designed that's going to be like follow town events, QR code takes you to our events page, and that flyer will also live there that people can grab. And so that's, marketing material throughout town. Again, the direction that we got from the council was they want a hometown Atherton centric event. And if we get participation from neighbors and communities far and wide, fine, but that's not the goal. We're not looking to have an Eventbrite that reaches people in San Jose.
I know we had that chicken in the past that was very popular from the feed store. Diana knows. Are we able to secure them?
Is that
Got the flu.
chlorophyll?
Got the flu.
Oh, oh no, bird flu. Oh, yeah. Hopefully not.
With the price of
Um,
eggs, he may just be too busy.
Yeah, exactly. I
Roosters,
don't
let's put
remember the
roosters.
name, but Silky? Is that
We
the-
have the vendor on the list.
Okay, okay. When I was just trying to picture the different vendors and if we're gonna have perhaps the police dog and we've got the turtles, if we had, I think the chicken, it really paints a nice picture of animals.
Let's get the
and-
chicken, gotta be right
We
next to the
definitely
Hawks.
invited chickens. I don't remember the names exactly, but we invited chickens for
Yeah,
sure.
Silky was just very popular.
I'm hoping it was either chlorophyll or one of the other vendors that we reached out to.
Oh, not chlorophyll. Yeah, chlorophyll did a hands-on activity around stuff.
Yeah,
But this was actually a feed store.
the feed store,
It
yeah.
might be in
Okay.
Woodside.
I'll make sure. That is it for me. I'll walk around really quickly and just show you the Earth Day flyer that we've been working on. It's not finalized, but it's in the works.
One thing about feed stores and stuff, there's a whole series of,
Peninsula Feed Store.
Oh, I love it.
there's a whole series of
Take those
Animal
species. Okay,
pet
good.
food companies that make specially designed things for the environment, foods that your animal eats that are good for the environment. You should see if one of those might be available.
Was it?
These are pet foods that are good for the environment. That is, they use things in the pet food that doesn't destroy the environment by harvesting them, et cetera.
Yeah, thank you. And if you know any other community organizations, businesses that are promoting these sustainable practices or around species or related to it, feel free to send it to us because we're mass just inviting people, asking them to fill out the vendor form and letting them know that when they submit the vendor form, that doesn't confirm their participation. We confirm their participation. So right now we're just casting a wide net of anyone who contributes to the theme, hoping that they'll fill out the vendor interest form. So if you know anyone, please feel free to send them my way.
So can I circle back to the beginning and say, remind me of the purpose of Earth Day and why we do it?
You want to hear that from staff?
Education.
Yeah. I mean,
education.
what is the town is going to spend your time, which is not free, and everything else on this. Why does the town do it?
Maybe Councilmember Whitmer would have more insight into that with your years of experience.
Why do we do Earth Day? What's the
Why do
goal?
we do Earth Day?
What's
It's
the goal?
supposed to be raising awareness and giving ideas to our residents how they can be more environmentally friendly, but it's more of an awareness raising thing. Then over time, we added fun things like the air blower, and we tied those into where we were trying to go regards to electrification.
So it's, let me just get straight. So it's raising awareness in the town of things that we can do to help the environment.
Right, what,
And is it focused on kids or adults for everybody?
everybody.
Everybody.
There's a lot of the things that they're talking about are the adults are the ones that have to pay for.
So if that's what our goal is, how will we know if we met the goal? When it's over, day after Earth Day, how do we know? That was a success. How will we know? What will be the rules by which we'll say that was a success?
I'm open to suggestions for some performance
Oh,
indicators.
Shouldn't we know that beforehand so we can think about it?
So if you think of, so
I think.
if I think of community engagement and I think of outreach and education, I think one of the ways that I would measure that is attendance. We don't track attendance because there's no real method for us to do that for an open space event. If we wanted to make it a ticketed event, that would be an easy way to track attendance, but we don't currently do that. I think another way that we might track that type of activity is some of our programmatic campaigns that we control from the town, like leaf blower rebates, for example. And I would say that if we used this type of outreach campaign, community engagement campaign to say, well, of the local programs that we market that fall under our sustainability umbrella, how are they performing? The leaf blower rebate program has performed exceptionally well. And so that's another metric that I would
Because
use.
You're gonna get them anyways. Why not get the money?
What about,
You asked, I'm
what
sharing my
about
thoughts.
something around the compost, right? Like you can pick up the compost from Greenway.
Well, you can pick up the compost year round
Yeah,
at the
Yeah,
park.
But
And
I wonder if after raising some awareness about these environmental issues, could
Yeah.
we not measure and how much compost was picked up between, April 30th and
We can definitely share and we have done that on social media. We share that in our departmental reports every month with council and the residents about how much compost we've ordered and replenished. So that's another measuring tool that we can use. I don't know if I could tie it to Earth Day specifically, but I could maybe make the case.
Why don't you do a survey?
A survey to the community.
A
Post.
survey, just put it on the town's website, you put it in your thing. We'd love to get your feedback. And, you know, what you think was good, et cetera, and suggestions. And then we can.
I'm happy to take that on from the city manager's office, but I do get your point that if we have this goal of engaging people, how are we,
Be nice to
evaluating
know-
if we're
Be
successful
nice
or
to know how
not?
many people came.
Yeah.
What their age distribution was and where they came from. Now, I'm not saying we can do it. I'm just saying that's what you'd like to know.
We tried that, I think, in the past, right, with zip code?
We,
Maybe we didn't. I don't
we did a
remember.
vendor outreach.
You and I can have the offline
survey?
offline conversation.
Yeah, maybe it
Um,
was outreach survey.
We did a
Yeah.
vendor outreach survey. It's
Surveys are useless.
right. And so like,
Yeah.
there's different perspectives on this. For me, with a town of less than 10,000 people, the way that I honestly and truly measure it is in person and one-on-one feedback. And
Yeah.
that's also that I rely on from this group here, from our council members and from people who frequent town events and activities. And that's how we've massaged and maneuvered and made changes to the event to either make it more effective, more in line with the council goals, more in line with what residents want to see. So that's my real measuring
Well,
stick.
one of the council goals was school engagement. What if we make one of our key performance indicators tied to how many schools or children?
Participate?
Yeah,
That's great
Not a bad
feedback.
idea, yeah.
And I think frankly, if I look at last year, the bees, the beetles, the gardening, the chickens, the 2 years before, the cars, the Cybertruck, the art contest, then last year again, the clothing swap. I mean, we're talking ages from 3 all the way up to 18 in huge numbers. So I think
But
if
that's
that's a
where
goal.
Earth Day is.
And
That's
I'm
what Earth
fine
Day
to
is.
accept that. And I think for the last 3 years, we've done a really good job.
If you
and we
don't
wanna
have a
continue
kid-
that.
If you don't have a grandchild or a child.
Yeah.
In that range, probably not going.
In which range?
3 to 15-year-old.
You don't think so?
except for the Cybertruck, which attracted for
Yeah,
a lot
I
of
think-
people.
So the Beetle lady, she engages kids from 3 up through probably 12.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm arguing that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and she's a huge draw. So I think that age range is,
If you're 55 years old and you're not an environmentalist, probably not going to
Unless you want the Cybertruck.
or the food,
But they're happy.
You're probably
Or-
right. You're
or
probably right.
which
But
we learned in our cafe results, and I gotta go because I got a call, but the community engagement. And that, as instructed from the council, it's connecting with your community members under the umbrella of
Yeah,
education.
why
So
don't at the EPC table have a little survey to say,
Yep.
what did you like the best? And do you have any ideas of what we should do next year? You have it there, they fill it out, says, please give us your input back. Okay, and they just give you that, we collect them.
with the QR code. Yeah,
I mean, we're done with this because you're going to go to everything else. I'm just saying, it was a business. We spent all the effort we did on Earth Day. Want to know that it was worth the investment you made. We don't have any way to do that normally.
the other
What we
thing but engaging youth is a really good one because they are the generation that's inheriting all of this. So if we could, the young student from Woodside who did the ballot box for you,
Yeah.
Ken, she was so enthusiastic. She was from Woodside Prairie.
But it's not like these kids aren't getting the exposure in their schools.
Yeah, but they're getting more, I would say, experiential or hands-on learning opportunities
Perhaps, yeah.
and leadership. She was having conversation with a lot of adults.
Yeah, you're right. There's that advantage that it's a kind of a turning it into more, not just reading it, but doing it sort of thing.
Yeah, maybe we make it around leadership development for youth. Like one of our metrics
I
are,
mean, if this were a use compost seminar, you could measure how much was used the next month, as you said.
Yeah. I actually like the idea of youth leadership support or engagement. And because we could track that, I don't know how much you've talked to the schools, but it could be, like by way of example, I'm talking to one of the sustainability and biology teachers at Menlo School. They have something called M-Term, which is at the end of the academic year. They squish some content into like a 2-week period, I think. And she wants to do around sustainability. So we're brainstorming ideas. And if she's someone who could say, oh, I had 6 students attend the Earth Day and they did a table and that table was around conservation. I mean, I think that's showing leadership. So I just don't know, you could flush that out maybe. I don't know how you engage teachers if they have time or the bandwidth, but that could be a good KPI for us for that target market. Ken, to your point about 55 plus, like, I don't know how we measure success there. I don't know.
If they were there, that alone would be.
Yeah.
I know we can't do it, and it's not worth talking about now. There just might be ways to find out how to measure that. People measure crowds and who's in them and stuff. There must, might even give someone to donate their time to do that, right?
Yeah. Good point.
I took down some good notes on just student engagement around and leadership. I think the compost idea is actually a good way to track if we were to order compost specifically for the event to measure how much we ordered to how much remained towards the end of the event. That's a metric right there. The leadership development wouldn't necessarily be a metric, more so just participation and opportunity for students. But there is also other softwares, as you mentioned, Ken, like I know there's Placer AI, and I think they do, they essentially use their software to generate a lot of those metrics information. Who and how many people showed up to your event? Where are they coming from? Where are they going? I'm not sure how that software works, but it's definitely out there. So as we continue this conversation, maybe for future Earth Day events or, measuring success for different events or programs, we can keep that in mind.
Because my focus in life is I want vendors to come and when they were finished, come back and say, that was worth my time. Spent a Sunday, 3 guys there. Boy, damn it, we got business out of that. Otherwise, why would they do it? Right?
Well, in the past, right, we had the water heater people. And so I don't know if they're going to be coming to do a display, but we had and heat pumps and whatnot, but you could ask them after how many people purchased heat pumps or these different items.
Water conservation things we do.
Yeah.
Rain bucket, all that stuff. And
Rain barrels.
we're on what we're on. It's too late.
Okay.
I'm just saying we should think a little broader on how we measure all this, right?
Yeah.
Because it's an event for the town that spends a lot of time and money. And if it doesn't meet the town's requirements, then they should do it something else, right?
Well, maybe the Office of Sustainability could bring a worm house or for us to use at our table, or maybe they could bring rain barrels or things that if people then buy them, I don't know if you purchase them from the San Mateo Office of Sustainability or not, but
Get
that
them
would
for
be.
free from.
Oh, you get
water
them for
company.
free? Okay.
I have
But we
1,000
can track
worms coming
those.
From Jim's Worms. He's giving me
Okay.
1,000 worms, and every hour we're going to give away 100. You
Okay.
get to take your bag of worms home.
With a kit on how to take care of so you don't kill them or feed them to your fish. Okay, Christabel, that's great. Is that it
That's great.
for Earth Day?
We can continue to have this conversation. Earth Day seems to be an annual recurring event, so I don't think it's going anywhere. Great, thank you so much. That was all I had for the Earth Day updates. Mostly wanted to use this time to give the EPC an opportunity to talk about their participation in Earth Day and then the main activity. So we've already talked about the EPC, of course, having a table where you would be sharing resources and vacant recruitment, of course, and then any other resources that might be related to the EPC, Earth Day, and the town. With that, we also mentioned the turtles, possibly as a display or showcase. But I wanted to just allow a little bit more time if we wanted to have that discussion today.
Worms, right?
Yeah, the only thing I've reached out to get tentative agreement on, this guy showed up with the turtles and the work. But I mean, what's our message what's our message at the table? I mean, to me, the message at the table is the message for this meeting, which is what can we do at Atherton to make it environmentally? And always in the past, we focused on getting rid of engine run things. Is there more? We have the water problem. Hey, but it's water. In fact, the other day, and it couldn't get too upset, but I was upset because the person was talking about something, how much water they pump out of the aquifer to keep their grass green. And I'm thinking, here the rest of us are paying huge amounts of money for water, and we have residents who are sucking out the water, water. Something wrong with that picture. And as a town, I know that the council has a focus on drainage and the flooding and stuff. We don't, to my knowledge, we don't have any real serious thought about things like using gray water from the construction we're doing. Should we be, not saying legislate, but should be encouraging people to consider using gray water? They build a new home, their landscape watering.
Is that hard to show, Ken? Like, could we get to have at our table?
I'm sure we could have somebody or get the guys who do this at the table next door.
We looked at it for this
Hard.
expensive. Have two water systems. So trying to make this building. That was one of so that and geothermal.
This building isn't good for that for a couple reasons. Because there's not that much water you could use that's poured. I mean, for example, you get out of the homes or things like
Laundry.
laundry water, that sort of thing gets used a lot. So and the economics are very detailed in the whole layoff. If you're going to build a $35 million home, cost of putting in gray water may not be much. I'm not saying you legislate it, you at least educate people about it.
Well, then why don't you go and appointment to go to and bring it up at the building roundtable and see what.
Well, as you know, I'm not allowed to go to the builders room.
Do you think we could, but the idea is like to have something else on our
I'm trying to
table
do that, yeah.
other than the worms and the turtles, talk about what we do at the EPC, recruit new members. That's our other goal.
Now, this is an edge on the EPC. This is a little stretch on the EPC. Even the bigger environmental issue with the EPC. What puts out the most amount of air pollution in this state?
Agriculture?
Sorry.
Agriculture.
Fires.
Oh, fires, yeah.
I thought it was cows.
By far, a wildfire.
Cows are the biggest producer of methane.
But these
Yeah.
last wildfires dwarf all the rest. So one thing as a town and say, how do we make sure we're not going to have wildfires in the town? And it's not our job. We're not the wildfire committee. We're not ADAPT. We can throw our voice behind it and say,
Well, the fire districts around the country are putting together new requirements as well as new maps. They're actively working, including our fire district, are actively working on getting education going. So I don't think we should be stepping on what they're doing. But there are books already that tell you build a new house, this is how you fireproof.
we don't have to wait for them either. I'm not saying step on them. There's no reason to wait for them if it's obvious to do.
Does CAL FIRE ever come to events like this, separate from the fire department?
CAL FIRE is the one that's drawing the maps up, but our interface for fire is fire district.
Yep.
What we pay into, they do work CAL FIRE, obviously.
Ken, you brought up a good point when you asked earlier about residents knowing what contributes most to the pollution in Atherton. That could be a pretty good activity as like a way to
Interesting.
attract people
We
with a
could
big
do that
question.
analysis which isn't easy. You can do that analysis. I will bet you if you could just reduce the time of constructing 10%, have a massive impact on the amount of environmental damage you do. From the point of all the cars, all the trucks, all the shipments coming in and out of this place.
Maybe we could have kind of a quiz where people could answer that question. And then on the back of cards, it could be average time to build a house in Atherton is blah.
Start the
Estimate if you
conversation.
cut it down, it would be this. We could talk about using fire resistant building materials and building according to CAL FIRE's recommendations.
Example, one of the biggest causes of pollution is concrete.
What about the whole question of, excuse me, waste during construction of new places?
Right, right. Where's it all go?
I mean, can you ask people whether they do anything to control that?
Yeah, one of the, I guess, activity that could be at the table is a impromptu conversation where that asking question prompts the conversation with the EPC members at the table.
It's too early, we don't have time to do it, but here we do. I would love to get the Menlo College data analytics guys as a course project to do something like this and say, guys, figure out in the town of Atherton, what are the sources of pollution and environmental damage? Give some ideas.
In my school outreach and my school visits, I actually engage with a lot of staff in either communication, student engagement, student services, volunteering, and then the sustainability and science teachers. I connected with a few folks at Menlo College about talking about opportunities for student engagement, and we were actually going to have a site visit yesterday. But for emergency reasons, they weren't able to make it. But we started the conversation on student engagement, and I have already told them about research opportunities that we could collaborate with committees on that maybe the town doesn't necessarily want to hire a consultant for, but staff don't have the time or bandwidth to do. We could collaborate with a student group who can do a research project and then formalize that into a local jurisdiction experience for them, where they could present to a committee, write a report, do a presentation, and then eventually take it to the council.
Let me
And that
be the witness
experience
on
is
that.
great.
You met the guy who runs the business school? Wafa?
No.
I've had conversations with him over the past. I've got one in a few weeks. And this all started with Bill, by the way. Idea being with Menlo College in their data analytics work, create a 503C entity where the students and professors get a project to work on and would get some small amount of money for it. Use that as the funding for a 501c3 club or something. The idea being exactly the sort of thing. Instead of paying a consultant a lot of money, could you pay Menlo College $1,000 and give them that project?
Well, they do have a real estate major, and I met one of the students there yesterday. I was on a panel for doing your resume and cover letter. And there was a sophomore I spoke with is getting her real estate master's or Bachelor of Arts, and at the same time getting her real estate degree or certificate, whatever, to sell houses. I wonder if when you have a conversation with them, the Business and the Environment Club will most likely table because they've gotten to know Ken over the years, but maybe they could have one of the other majors, not necessarily a club, because those operate really independently from the academic programs. It would be kind of cool if they could talk about LEED certification, what that means, what's a LEED certified building, because there's different levels of LEED. And so, you know, and if they became, I think they're called, it's a green LEED, something or the other. If they get that certification, they can make recommendations to people who are building homes. So that might be a fun way to engage students. I keep coming back to the youth leadership because I like that as a theme, maybe for next year even.
Well, but if, for example, what if we talk to the college guys and said, tell us how you could measure who showed up for Earth Day? They were. You do that. they could maybe even have the I mean, there's only three ways in the whole of Bauer Park. Right? There's the passenger and then the in and out.
Click, yeah.
And you could have somebody each invent just a 2-second interview if everybody come by.
Yeah, or just even a clicker. I do think, and it comes to our next point in the agenda, that we need to educate the residents on this new, reach code. So maybe that could be a big part of our table too.
That's an interesting idea. That's not that far away. It's only not that far away, Earth Day.
Yeah.
2 months, right?
2 months.
Not that far.
And this thing goes into effect tomorrow. Right?
What is like well received.
So should we have that be part of our table?
Part of somebody's table, maybe not. We're not.
If not us,
we
should
can't-
it be
we can't
someone
speak to
else?
that. That's-
Absolutely. I mean, you're kind of already touching on to the next agenda item, which was the reach code conversation, where I was going to ask you for your preliminary input on education and outreach, because that's essentially a role for the EPC is to do education, awareness, and outreach around town programs, sustainability initiatives, and so on. I think the reach code, which, by the way, TRC, the consultant that helped us draft it, working with Peninsula Clean Energy, is actually using our ordinance as a sample for other jurisdictions in the area as they're updating their reach code. So that's a kind of win for us, a little bit of a flex for me. Super happy about that.
Congratulations.
So it's something to be proud of, I think, and something that we definitely want to do education and awareness around, because we don't want residents to be caught off guard by
I
this.
don't think there's a role for the EPC involved.
Is that,
That is a staff role, explain exactly what the reach code is. And it needs to be incredibly clear, incredibly concise, not a 72-page detail of all that stuff. It's got to be very, very clear because the residents have no time to read all that shit.
but is there another group, Christabel, that would have governance or oversight for this, like the?
Yeah, so they're the ones enforcing it, and we engage the Builders Roundtable in discussion around it. But for the EPC specifically, like staff will of course be doing logistical coordination and deliverables, but working with the EPC on what your thoughts are around education and outreach, which is one of our pillars, I believe, if not one of our roles, around this new ordinance. It's a revised ordinance.
The building,
new
the
to a lot of
building
people.
department, when they look at the plans, they will be incorporating these things in it or advising the building. Regards to educating people, a page or a page and a half in the Athertonian, something.
Yeah, and
Send a big attachment to these stuff. It's not.
yeah, and an EPC recommendation could be anything like asking staff or giving staff input on maybe the building department should be responsible for educating people on that, and they could do a one-page fact sheet.
Or
if that's
I
what you
think we
thought
could
would
do
be
a
valuable.
flyer with a QR code to other areas. So you just take your phone and take a picture of that. But the flyer itself could just be an announcement. And maybe a simple announcement that links it back to that the fact that it just, is coming into effect on the 14th and then with a link to if they want to go into the detail of reading it, it's really long, but could we just have a
Who do you want to
flyer?
read this?
So yeah, who, Christabel, in your experience, because you've been in building, like who's the most, is it the builders who care? Do the owners,
Builders
are
don't-
they
yeah,
interested?
It's
Who's
going to be the builders because the builders have to follow the rules.
No, they don't care. I went to.
They
that-
just pass it on.
That's my point.
Okay, look,
I'll
their
answer it.
plans
Yeah,
don't get
because
approved.
you're
Okay,
front and
If I
center.
could just finish, okay? Plans don't get approved unless building approves them.
Correct.
Once they do the implementation, building goes out and verifies that they've built
Correct.
the plan,
I agree
okay?
with all that.
So it's building department that does it, not the owners, not the builder. The builders will do whatever they can do, but they can't start unless the building department signs off on their plans and make sure it's in accordance with
I agree
our.
with everything you said, Bill. Except people left out of this conversation are the residents who own the home.
Well,
They learn nothing. They know nothing about it. They never get the influence. They have no idea this is going on. I went to the Builders Council when that discussion was. Builders Council basically says, we'll just pass on the whole thing to the owners.
That's exactly right.
We don't care, whatever it costs, we'll pass it on.
That's right.
And the residents aren't there to argue, no, don't pass it on, I don't want it. They're not there.
Can we
So the
hear from
residents
Christabel?
realize we gotta
Because
get to-
she also worked front lines on this topic.
So from the community development department, it's the builders enforcing it. It's the developers. They care, to answer your question, Ken. They care because especially in Atherton, developers know what residents want or what their clients are expecting, especially in terms of cost. So when they see this, they see it as additional cost to their projects.
Why you think that? I mean, I've sat through those meetings. I've sat through the Builders Council. No, I've talked to the builders. There's nothing on anything we're doing which is a bad thing to do. Everything we're doing is a good thing to do. No, there's no question about it. But the residents don't know what that means to them, what it means to the prices and a bunch of other things. They never hear it. They don't know. And the builders don't care because guess what? Get paid the higher the price, the more they get.
Right.
So the builders don't give a damn. And so to think you take something to Builders Council and get feedback, that's a joke.
But is the most important topic for us and coming back to our table at Earth Day to have a one-page flyer that said that this happened. And if you want more information as a
That would
resident,
make sense.
go here.
That would make sense.
Okay.
For us to be a link to say, hey, you need this information, go there. That would make sense.
Is that,
But we don't make the information.
Yeah,
Just
an
link
to it.
update on what's going on.
would that make sense? And Christabel, like kind of coming back to social media, and I don't know how many followers we have or if it makes sense to put it on the website, but maybe you could have a video with you talking to whoever the key stakeholders, like a builder or developer, I don't know, or on site if someone's willing to show their home or renovation and say, like, this is what it means, like kind of a how-to video. A lot of people like to see things in video, and you could do it in Vimeo. You could have it recorded and put it on the website as an explanation. Because to Bill's point, people aren't going to want to read all the fine print, but maybe if you said, this is the impact, or this is what we have to do because of this new, right? A video might be interesting for people.
Well, the main thing that we've done is that we're following the state law. Okay. So it's got to be, maybe the state has something to educate people why the legislature passed these things with these states saying that, no, these items will no longer be sold on such and such a date. And all we've done is said, okay, most part, this is how you get ready for it. You can get ready for it now, or you can get ready for it when you have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, if you're going to have to replace a water heater, it might be wise to have the electrician put in the line when you have the time to do it, as opposed to your water heater's out.
Yep.
Now you find that you can't get an electrician for 3 weeks, and so you get cold showers. So,
Yeah.
I think you brought up a good point, Amy, with that video. A video seems more digestible for the general public, especially when it's less than 2 minutes and simplified terms. I think that's definitely an idea we can explore around education and outreach. Also tied into any existing education materials that already exist,
Yeah,
just so we're
to-
not reinventing the wheel.
To Bill's point, maybe the state already has stuff, and maybe the people who are doing the social media could lift some of that and put it.
I totally disagree. Into all these meetings, our residents, only one issue. Get,
Would you have that video ready for Earth Day?
you read the reach code, read the whole thing, and your mind fogs over. It is totally in administrative speak. And what the residents want is, okay, based on all this, here's what I can do, here's what I can't do, and here's what I have to do them in. A very simple spreadsheet, not even a spreadsheet, just a list. They don't need much more than that. They don't need a video. They just need, can I use, now if I renovate, can I use a gas stove or not? Can I use a gas fireplace or not? If I build a new home, can I? Do I have to have an immediate wiring right then when I renovate, or can I do it later on if I have to change? There's a lot of questions like that. So residents want to get, before the town sends it out and says, this is it, somebody, and maybe we, should look at it and say, not clear enough.
Could we
Because
have
it's never clear.
could you guys create a fact sheet like that would have the,
For the Athertonian.
perfect.
But again, please don't send the Athertonian until we look at it, because stuff we normally send out is still not clear. And if you're not a resident, you're not sure what's clear. If you're
And I still like the idea of the videos
You can do a
and
video.
to what you were saying, Gregory, like if they're reels, not videos, but reels. So those are what, less than 90 seconds?
Yeah.
Then that could definitely be done before Earth Day, and we could use them on like YouTube on Shorts, and we could.
If we decide to do that, I think you want to know what changes you got to make, because then it tells you what the reels would be.
Yeah, I totally agree. Maybe you could make a list of the changes and then we could see what could be videoed. Because I do think it would be fun for people to see, here's my hot water heater and I've had it for 12 years. And if it goes because of this new situation, I'm going to need to do X, Y, or Z, right? It would explain it.
That's the goal. And it's in real English, not in administrative speak.
Right.
So I have noted possibly a fact sheet for Earth Day with maybe a QR code to a video.
Perfect. Well, yeah, that would work, yeah.
So I'll have to double check internally because I don't know if we can go do the back and forth before Earth Day, but I think this is definitely something on education and outreach tied to the reach code that we
You could
could
do the
do.
fact sheet way before it.
So what?
Fact sheet was, it should be, you
Yes.
could do it
Yeah.
by Monday. I mean,
A
it's not-
video would take a little bit more coordination, but
And the video, I think you got to decide what you want in that video.
yeah.
And
I would have to think through what that could look like and then follow up with you at our next meeting. My point is, I'm not sure if we could get it done before Earth Day. But it's
Yeah,
definitely a really good idea for the reach
A
code.
series, could be a series.
We could start
attached
with
to
an
the reach codes.
announcement
Yeah.
/ fact sheet, and that leads into other things.
And maybe the state has stuff already.
Yeah, I'll look into that. So these are all things that I am taking notes on and need to look into and follow up on.
And where would you show that video?
We could post it on our social media platforms. We also could probably send it as a newsflash with a link to YouTube. And then if we had a fact sheet, we could do a QR code that takes them to that YouTube video.
but who's the audience who's going to watch it?
I mean,
A
Well,
lot of people watch YouTube.
No, but who is going to watch this particular thing?
Well, you could combine it with the, excuse me, you could combine it with the short videos that you were planning on showing.
Oh, yeah. The videos that you're going to have in the cooling center.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they'll be totally unrelated.
Yeah.
Maybe it could be in a different part of the cooling center, just have another loop with those videos.
So I'm going to do a video on what I have to do if I replace
Oh,
my burned out.
I have a great
my
idea.
burned out gas water heater. Somehow that doesn't
Wait,
fit.
Ken, I have a great idea. You have the little tools, my boys used to have them, that you get, like the handy manny set, with the little drills and the little, so it's in the cooling center and little kids can be there with all the little like plastic hammers and
Yeah,
tools.
yeah.
And then you could have the video loop rolling. So if you were able to pull that off, I think it'd be really interesting because the kids would be attracted to a little workstation that you could set up. I don't know if you remember the train station that they set up here. Oh, you weren't. Yeah, you were here.
But these videos have nothing to do with kids.
No, but the parents will be there watching their kids and they'll
Yeah.
see the video.
Yeah.
Parents you want, the people you want, people that are thinking about building a home or renovating the home they got.
Or who's most directly impacted by it.
Those are because quite frankly, until they go to the building department
Yeah.
or their architect comes back and says, well, can't do that
Yeah.
anymore. That's a shock to them. They are shocked.
But are most of the people building the homes coming from outside of Atherton?
I don't know that.
They are. So if they're coming from outside of Atherton, they wouldn't be at Earth Day.
That's what I'm saying.
Most of the homes that are knockdowns, people are.
So we're gonna have to, actually, we're gonna have to show the video. We're gonna have to fly to China, show it over there.
And so we're already having so many good conversations about
point.
what we could do for the reach code.
Mhm.
I just want to circle back to, do we want to do anything specific, at least on the staff end, that we need to prepare for an EPC table / reach code announcement.
Fact
education.
sheet, Q&A. I think a Q&A would be really nice.
If you do the what do you gotta do fact sheet,
Yeah.
Okay.
that's enough.
So we can aim to have a draft announcement and fact sheet ready for you to look at the March meeting
Sure,
and see if
perfect,
we
yeah, yeah.
can get close to final on something.
Okay.
Perfect. So we already have some resources at your EPC table. It seems like we're already thinking about what activity you might have. We could use the March 16th time to finalize all of that, and then we'll have about a month to prepare the EPC contribution to the Earth Day event.
Gregory, I know your specialty is plastics. Are we missing an opportunity? Should we discuss plastics at our table, at our?
Well, I sent Christabel my rather sad conclusion to the article that I'd written, because when they had the meeting of the so-called ambitious 50 countries that were going to have this report ready by the end of 2024, the Russians and the Saudis basically nixed the conclusions and said they would not participate because it required reducing the amount of fossil fuels that are turned into plastics, and that meant that the organization had to postpone the study to 2025, and I don't think they have met yet. So that was very disappointing because they had the ambition to have everything ready and have the international agreement ready by the end of 2024, but they did not.
Well,
So
you
I
know what
don't
we
have
could do.
anything. I don't have
Well-
anything very positive to report at this point because I don't think they met yet.
What we could do is we could have information on SB, I think it's 1530, and it's on plastic bag bans. I was just trying to look it up. You could check it out,
Is it new one or it's one that's been
Christabel.
around for a
This is a new one. It's an update so that you, in 2026, I believe, starting in January, you can't use the thick plastic bags, the ones that they, and it's not.
Yeah.
Right? It's, I just read about it today, but I don't remember which SB it is. So it's not totally aligned, Gregory, with your work, but it will impact, given California's size, it will potentially impact some of the petroleum companies that are making those bags, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing to say that we couldn't have Gregory's article printed for folks who wanted to grab and take it to read.
Well,
at your table.
why don't we do this, Christabel? If I could give you some. Since
I'm
these
gonna
people-
look
these
into
people
whether
don't-
I'm gonna look into whether they are meeting in the near future, because the when they failed at the end of the year, which was their plan, they said they would meet in early 2025, but I don't think they have met yet.
Okay, so we'll find that out.
TBD
But
TBD
so
on
on
that.
the,
I will look into that.
on the green waste hefty thing,
Yeah, well, all
You're
those
talking
companies
about-
are doing basically nothing to recycle. I mean, it's pathetic.
yeah, I understand. So, but we're starting a program here through Green Waste that's optional. And Cristobal's is in the meeting. They came and they spoke to us about it, that through Hefty, there'll be these, the potential for a resident to acquire an orange type bag that they would put in the non-recyclable plastics such as egg crates and things like that into that bag, and the guy would, when he came around he would pick those things up. You'd put it out and it would cost you nothing other than to buy the bags. The bags for a year would cost you about $8. The town is considering getting a cadre of those bags and potentially, if we can get them, hand them out at Earth Day So they would get at least one bag for free, and they could get started with that along with the sheet of this is what you put in it and this is what you don't put in it. You put it in the regular bin. And so that will help keep plastics, heavy plastics, out of the waste stream. Obviously, there's not a way to recycle those at this point in time, but it's a step forward in the right direction. So that if we can work all that out, will be at the Recology, or not Recology, but the green waste table. And George and Cristobal are working out the details with regards to, buying the bags and having them there. FD is a little bit behind the curve with regards to documenting everything and getting everything ready, but they're at least taking that step forward, and we ask them to please try and target for our date. It doesn't solve the keeping it out of the waste stream 100%, but it's another way that will reduce, it will increase our diversion, and it will reduce potential heavy plastics getting mixed in with other things that go into the waste stream.
Clear again, you get an orange bag in it,
The heavy
To-
plastics like
Hard
egg,
to recycle plastics.
yeah.
and how do we know what they are?
There's going to be a list that you will get with that.
Okay.
It shows you this goes in here, this goes into your normal.
The fourth kind of thing we recycle.
When you have it full, yes.
And it's a bag, a big bag? I mean,
It's a big hefty bag, yes,
And you-
orange.
then you put it out the night you do your thing and
Yes, you put it out to the street and the guy picks it up and it stays away from the rest of the
so he
stuff.
takes that bag and then you gotta get another bag to put it in.
Well, if you buy a box of 8, then you should probably do that for a year.
Or he kind of does a year, you're thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really just the purchase of the orange bag, and then Green Waste team recognizes that orange bag and can separate it from the rest of
Yeah, so you send it out
sorting.
with the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, and so then the Hefty Renew program deals with those
But
specific
for
hard to
you, as a
recycle.
resident, for you,
But what
Send-
exactly, I didn't understand, what exactly do you put in the orange bag?
The heavy non-recyclable plastics, such
Ah.
as these eggplants or egg cartons that you can get now, say at Costco, that have 12 or 18 eggs and they're of heavy plastic, or heavy
Ziploc bags,
plastics that just sandwiches come in, things like that.
bottle
What
caps.
about bottles?
Yeah, bottle caps, all
Bottle
of those
caps, but
hard
not
to
the bottles. The
recycle.
bottles are still
plastics.
recyclable. Things that are recyclable today still go into your blue barrel, or your blue cart. Things that are not, that they're pulling out of the waste stream, which they will define for us, and they did not give us that list yet. That's what you will be told. You have the right to not do this at all, but if you would, it would reduce the cost of processing and make sure that things don't get into the waste stream.
And so
So,
Green Waste will be doing that. If we have everything in line and ready, Green Waste would be having that at their table. They'll be announcing the Hefty Renew program. Hopefully we'll have bags to give out for free, and residents can try out the program. And if they choose to stick with it, they can sign up.
okay. And it could be too, I don't know if you've had a chance to reach out to Surfrider Foundation. They tabled last year. It was a student from Menlo School, and they do some education around plastics. And by the way, it was SB 270, but I'm trying to see, I know it's been updated. But I do think it could be a good education for people to know that when you go to the grocery store, you won't be able to get those starting in a year. So get your tote bag with the Atherton Arts Foundation, right?
So I welcome all of you to keep thinking about these ideas, and at the next meeting, we can finalize what we want to present at the EPC table. Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns with the Reach Code update and potential outreach and education on that? I know we discussed it'll be an ongoing conversation.
if you get that little fact sheet out, back,
We'll work on
rough
it.
draft, that'll bring out the questions and
Yeah.
concerns.
And I think you make a good point. Code language is very,
Technical.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and it needs to be digestible for the public. So we'll work on that. And hopefully we can have that ready
Um,
for the next meeting.
Ken, what happened with those kids that you knew that one of them was from Sweden?
Yep, Ian. What happened to them?
They're still here
They're now
at
seniors.
Menlo?
Say what? They're still at Menlo. They graduate this year.
So they are they going to come to our event?
They will, I believe they will. They'll have a Menlo College Environmental Committee table, right?
Okay, good.
And they're looking for projects they can go work on. So anything we can come up with before then, we should talk about.
And I think I met them at the, 2 weeks ago, we tabled at the Menlo College Club and Career Fair.
Yep.
And they had all the clubs out there. And so I did some reverse tabling where I was handing out our committee vacancies, our volunteer flyers and everything like that. So hopefully they're aware about it and they're hoping to engage.
Good.
Great. Moving on to the last thing on the agenda. I wanted to have some time, just as this is our first meeting of the year, really just to circle back to what is the EPC's purpose and what impact do you want to have? Revisiting that. We've talked about it, I think, repeatedly throughout this conversation, so I think we kind of already have an idea, but I wanted to leave space for that conversation. And I do have the climate action dashboard pulled up in case we wanted to reference our climate action plan to guide this discussion.
Well, we've spoken about doing some other educational events.
Yeah, again, not to beat a dead horse, but my view here is I didn't join Environmental Party Committee. I joined the Environmental Programs Committee. And I'm trying to find programs to have an impact in the town and that we can measure the impact. So what things can we do so that a year later we say, damn it, we had an impact, right? And so again, what things can we do to reduce the environmental impact here? Now, Bill hasn't heard this story, so I'll let him know this. One of the issues I've had is we did the Earth Day last year. Spent a lot of time, both of us, hundreds of hours each on doing the thing. One of my goals is to see if we could find a way, because although it's good to replace gasoline leaf blowers with battery leaf blowers, that was happening anyway, because the state outlawed them and they were all going to go away, right? So we were just pushing it a little faster, but they were all going away. Once they're gone, if you're doing landscaping, a large thing is your non-electric, your gasoline lawnmower, which is noisy and makes.
Two-stroke, right?
Oh, they're not two-stroke, they're more than four-stroke, but it still does. I mean, they're noisy, they're loud, they're hard to push, blah, blah, blah. One of my goals was to try and get people to warm to the idea of using a robotic lawnmower, right? The idea is that we are the target for the robotic lawnmower world. Average an acre and a half a house. We have large lawns, spend money. If there's any area, any zip code for which a robotic lawnmower makes ultimate sense, it is ours. And I was hoping that after last Earth Day, I could call Husqvarna, Still, and the other guys and say, how many did you sell in Atherton? Answer is, I could, but I get zero is the answer. And so my follow-up to that was, how do we have the residents not only see the few that went to Earth Day? I mean, the Earth Day residents, the numbers that saw the robot there compared to how many should see it, own homes with land is very small, right? How would we get them to see it working and say, oh, I can do that in my house?
A lot of people see it at my house all the time.
Well,
They always ask about it. They think it's picking up leaves. But I tell them it's a lawnmower.
and
I don't know how many buy it or follow in. They always say it's a great idea. I tell them why we did it. Because the gardener raises prices over 100%. And we said, we'll just do our yard work ourselves. And said, buy this Husqvarna thing, which was brand new at that time. It had a 1-year payback.
right now, but you are an outlier. For all the
Probably,
reasons.
yeah, because I'm on the council.
No, but
That's clear.
which makes you a good person. but you're not allowed because you do it yourself.
Yes, that's right.
The massive number of people in the town use a landscaper, a mowing service.
They use they use a gardener who brings his own.
Yeah, and so I've talked to those guys a lot, and there's a couple reasons why they are against robotic lawnmowers. One is you can't spell robot. They're not technical people. It scares the hell out of them to figure out how to set up a robot with a GPS system. Second of all, for them, it's the first step toward losing their job, because once it's there, who needs you? So as a result, the entire landscaping industry says they don't work, right? The solution to that is Husqvarna and others have come up with a plan that says we will lease the landscaper, the gardener, a robot. And for that lease, we will cover all of the setup, all of the maintenance, all the repair, all the connection, all the issues that anybody would have with a robot. All you got to do is go in, turn it on, or turn it on for your phone. It's up that you do that. We'll take the installation, GPS system, everything. And here's an example for me. I don't have a big lawn. I pay my guy, let's say it's $250 a month to my just grass cutting. They can lease it to him for $150 a month. So now for $150 a month, they pay $150 to Husqvarna, and they pocket the other 100 because they're not doing it themselves. So there's a plan to do all that. But how? No. So if I said to myself, how do we get this used in Atherton? How do we get 2,500 homes, which there's got to be 10% anyway, 250 which could use it? How do we get them to use it? And there's no way to do it.
I have one suggestion. I know the event you spearheaded on the lawn equipment was a rainy day.
Yeah.
You weren't here, Christabel. It was hard because it was like today, but worse. And so it was hard to get people to come. It was just right here, really, and like fantastic presenters. Could we, since we're not selling anything at Earth Day, could we get George to give us a one day or one afternoon free pass where we could bring vendors in to sell their stuff, like the Husqvarnas and maybe
Be on a
some
different day.
on a totally different day, and maybe some of the other things you've mentioned, like the gray water, I don't know, other things, and we had kind of like a trade fair, like
Well, I like
small,
I
just
like
for
that
our
idea.
residents.
I like that, but I was leading to a more specific thing for Bill here. After Earth Day of April 19th, or what it was last year, I worked with our staff down so I could talk to
Brightview, our guys.
to have a conversation about whether they used or liked the robots. I was not allowed to have that conversation. It finally, after begging, I got a 15-minute phone call. What? Zoom, this was Zoom, sorry. Not a personal meeting, to ask these guys whether or not they used robots and what they liked or didn't like them. And in that conversation, they said, "Oh yeah, we use robots all the time. We use them at this senior center down in San Jose. We have 4 or 5 robots down there. It does it all the time. We love them. They're great." I said, "Well, why don't you use them in Holbrook Bummer Park?" And they said, "Well, because you got too many people on the fields during the day. You got people playing tennis, people playing pickup soccer. You got picnics, all that stuff. And so we don't want a robot out there without being supervised, right?" And so my question to them was, "Well, why don't you just do it at dusk when there's no?"
Yeah, that's when I do mine at night.
"Why? Tell me why you don't do it then." He said, "Well, we never thought of it." And so my next step was going to be work with our staff, say, why don't we do a trial at Brightview, where they try it and see what they think and tell us what the story is. Encourage them to do it. Guess what? I'm not allowed to talk to Brightview. Staff won't let us talk to them.
Weren't you talking to Menlo College about doing the
Talk to Menlo
quad?
College, they're not there yet either. But what I'm saying is, if the town really cares about an environment, own our staff. We own the contract with Brightview. How hard is it to say to Brightview, give us a quote on doing a 1-month trial using a robot in the park in this area? And then come back and tell us details and et cetera. If it's cheaper, guess what? We're reducing your fee next year.
Who owns Cartan Field?
Barton Field. College and
Could we do an exhibit in Cartan?
We could do that, but I don't, but that's no, what I'm saying is, I hold that thought. I'm saying if the town really cared about the environment and really supported the environmental programs committee, that asked this question of their buildings and grounds guys as to why aren't we doing this?
well, I don't know what the setup cost is. When I did mine, we had to put the wires down. I know that they've got different. We'd have to see what the setup cost is. Then we have a multi-year contract and they would have to agree to renegotiate, make the investment in the robot, and it saves them.
No, but I'm not being clear.
saving.
Let me go back to what I'm going to propose, Bill, and you tell me if this is acceptable. I would never propose that the town buy the robot. I would propose that we demonstrate a robot, and then if they love it, turns out they could put that in their next, they could put it in their next bid. That's up to them. But what I'm saying is, I would like to propose town ask Brightview to put a 1 month or whatever the time is, trial of the use of a robot. And for that, what would Brightview charge as a special contract for only that?
But can we just scrap Brightview and go direct to our residents and offer them, get Husqvarna to give us a 15% discount on every robot we sell? And just give.
Sure, we can do
Brightview-
that, but I mean, you gotta find,
Well, it's not just Husqvarna. There are other people.
Or
that
other
have
ones,
it.
yeah.
yeah, but you gotta. We're knowledge on one thing. I'm questioning the commitment of the town to really be environmental. I'm sorry, if you're really environmental,
Right.
you gotta have the balls to say,
But
let's try this.
no, I agree. But coming back to our mission or mandate to educate residents, should we think more about some sort of an event that can educate the residents to take action as opposed to having influence over a vendor contract with the town?
I don't want to I don't think, and I've tried this and it's not gonna work, not deal with residents. What I will deal with are the actual gardeners. So if I could go find a list of the gardeners we want to put together a special meeting with 5 gardeners, make this proposal, we could do that. All I'm saying, Bill, is I don't think the town really cares. The town really cared, proactive in doing this, versus say, EPC, you do it. I'm sorry. It's easy to pass an ordinance, law to do something. Hard to get people to change their minds without. Other
Well-
option is you could say, you must have a robot lawnmower.
Yeah, but so clear, personnel management and decisions on contracts, final decision contracts. We agree as a council, the money, so you brought up a good idea, I'll bring it up to George in my meeting on Tuesday. And Cristobal probably can mention it to her today. However, George makes the final decisions. That's why we have a city manager.
Sure,
He's in charge of all personnel activity.
sure.
He and Robert are responsible for all
Sure.
contracts. Robert, they're in charge of the contracts. I'll mention it to George
So-
when this came up.
So we do, let me send you and Cristobal a very clear summary of what I'm asking.
I know what you're asking.
But I'll be more clear. And because I'm not clear all the time. What I'm saying is, why wouldn't it become a motion for the council to vote on?
After proposal is put together by staff.
Right, but so what you're saying, and I know this to be true, George could say, well, we're not gonna make that proposal.
But wait, Ken, if you were interested in measuring outcomes,
Mhm.
previously you brought that up. Are you certain that the impact of changing to a robot for Brightview will have a greater impact than getting X number of residents with 15 acres?
Oh, no. The
I mean,
big one
our-
here is getting residents.
I agree. So I just think we've spent a lot of time talking about this. So I think you send it to everyone because I know this is important to you. I'm not dismissing it, but I want us to come back to our mission, which is
Okay,
to educate
so done.
residents.
We're done with this one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I think we should pick, because we're all busy, one thing that we can do outside of Earth Day and put it on a calendar and say, this is the topic we want to bring to residents. And it could be the lawn mowing, or it could be the gray water, or it could be around plastics. But one thing that we as a committee can educate residents on, and then try to do your accountability by measuring afterwards. We follow up with them. Did you do X, Y, or Z? Did we change your behavior in any way? I like that approach, but we got to pick one thing. Otherwise, we always talk about it in our meetings and we never do anything.
You're raising a good idea, and that is, how do we ask the residents for their ideas for what environmental things should be done in the, right? All those guys know more than I do, a lot of stuff, right? You're Brett Butler guy.
Yeah.
And we all have surveys and things. What would be the best mechanism to get feedback from the residents as to, hey, you're not on the, love to have you join EPC. You don't have a lot of time. So if you don't have time, at least tell us what we should do.
Gotcha.
You could have
mean-
a question at Earth Day, similar to the one we previously mentioned, saying, what are your environmental priorities?
Yeah.
Talk to
That's only
us.
the people coming to Earth Day. That's the problem.
Could we do the same question, but have it as a poll on Instagram and our, I don't know if we can tell if they're residents though. They answer the poll. Guess we can't. Or a survey, but you're saying not a lot of people respond to surveys.
And by the way, I don't care if they're not residents. What
Yeah.
I'm looking for is good ideas.
Oh, what if we had a box at the library when you come in, vote for your favorite Earth Day, or not Earth Day, or environmental action in where you live, and you could write it down, and what's your zip code? You could write it down and drop it in a box.
Well,
So, I'm
I
just
think it
hoping
would
that-
be easier if you suggested 2 or 3 of the possibilities, because
Yeah.
if you open the field to everything, everybody will come up with something different.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Good point, Gregory. Yeah.
Can I quickly disclose, we are releasing the community survey this year.
Yeah.
And in that community survey, we're asking a lot of general questions, hoping to answer a lot of general questions. But in there, we essentially ask, what are your environmental priorities related to the climate action plan? And we list things related to the climate action plan,
So we're gonna get
waste,
that.
transportation. So we'll get, and that's only residents, and we're only going to get responses from residents. So we'll get what their environmental priorities
Get that.
are.
How do we get that?
I'm not
Has
sure
to
yet.
Send it out first. It's
Yeah,
not
the
gone
survey
out
is
yet.
still in
Council
draft
hasn't-
mode,
Council
but-
hasn't approved it yet.
In a
Yeah.
long time, yeah.
It's still in draft mode, but I just wanted to let you know it is an
Yeah, oh, no,
embedded
and that's-
question there.
That's a great source.
Yeah,
Great
so there, from that, when we do get the responses, we'll know what residents' responses were to that specific question. So then you can tailor
We
your
can-
programming around that.
I love that. It might be later. What if we just did a worm clinic? Like something simple that didn't cost a lot of money, and we can invite people to come and we could teach them about vermiculture and why it's important to have worms. I remember San Mateo Office of Sustainability did something like that. We had to pay them, but we could just do it ourselves with just you, me, and Gregory and some worms.
Well, the thing is, the committee, as a town, in the Athertonian or in the town blurb, whatever, talk about committees, which you do, and the new committee, you said they got outside the finance committee, right? There'll be some more people on the finance committee. We're looking for people. There'll be probably new people in the other committees. You put that next blurb out about committees. How do we ask for residents to respond to each of those committees for their ideas of what the committee should do? Why not? I mean,
I think I agree with what the committee do.
They don't know
People
what they
don't
do.
know what the city council does, honestly. And you bring up a good point. We pass laws and most people don't know about them because they don't stay informed. Just put stuff out all the time. They don't read it. Yeah. And so they find out about stuff when it affects them.
Yeah.
But what's the downside of putting in whatever the next communication is? Hey, we've just filled these committees. committee memberships, here's who they are. And oh, by the way, if you have any recommendations as things the committee should look at, send it to this thing with a code or something, you know what I mean? Because nobody in this town, very few people know, what committees exist, who's on them, and what they do. You got to
Yeah.
search our website to do that. And people just aren't going to do that.
That's a good suggestion for our town table. Because we have flyers that we distribute, resources that we have. But what are our committees? What are their roles? Who are your current committee members? How many vacancies are on this committee? Could be helpful.
Yeah.
I can take that as a suggestion for our town table.
The Park and Rec Committee meeting, just like we do, and they say, what should our priorities be this year for the park?
Well, we could have something like colleges and high schools say, these are the clubs we have. There are a few tables, do people are, and then decide whether.
So you're a genius because you're bringing up the other concept. I actually go to the other committee meeting. Right?
I know you do. You
I'm
go
in
to
the
every
virtual every
meeting.
one.
I'm told you go to every meeting.
I actually went to the old train meetings, right? I spent like 20 meetings at train.
Why isn't it done?
I've always felt, we shouldn't go there. You're bringing up another problem. But I've always felt we should have a mixer. The committees.
Yeah,
Committees don't know who each other are.
that's right.
They don't know what they do. We should be interested in what's going on in the park committee. And all that. So we gotta have a town council, a town
Yeah,
committee.
maybe do it in like you do the holiday party and have it catered and people could come.
There ought to be like a short presentation. You want to give a 5-minute presentation, who we are, what our priorities are. And by the way, buy me a drink and you
Yeah.
tell me what yours are.
I like that
You can
idea.
have sheets on the wall that say, our Memorial Committee should do the following. After a couple of drinks, Wally's up there writing down stuff, But I mean, when I go to these meetings, what a great way to get community together in the town of the committees talking to each other. They don't.
And the committee members are all volunteering their time, so we know they're engaged.
Yeah.
I know we're at hour, so we
Yeah.
probably need to call it a day unless we have more stuff on the agenda.
No, I took some really good notes from this. We can follow up on a lot of this conversation at the next meeting. Right now, we can use the existing Earth Day subcommittee to just continuously have that conversation. But are there any other potential future agenda items that I should be mindful of or keep in
Yes, but
mind?
only after we close because it's not a item.
Okay, sounds good. That's it for me.
All right, do you want,
Yeah,
I moved to adjourn.
I second?
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Gregory.